So before we go any further in the meeting, I'd like to ask the council to come down front and meet these young men and get a picture with them. I'll tell you what, next time you come back, if you call ahead to the city manager's office, we'll have you and all the rest of the kids in your troop come and do the flag ceremony and earn another badge, okay? Come back anytime you want. All right, guys, thanks for being here. All right. Moving on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes items that are routine, procedural, informational, self-explanatory, and non-controversial. They are presented to council for a single motion and vote. Any member of council may ask to remove a specific item for further discussion and a separate vote. Tonight, there are 11 items listed under the consent agenda. Does anyone on council wish to remove an item off of the consent agenda? Mr. Huseman?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to remove 2018-93, please.
2018-93. Okay. Now there are 10 items. Is there any others that need to be removed? Seeing none. Open for a motion on the consent agenda. Mr. Huseman.
Motion to approve the consent agenda is modified.
Thank you. Mr. Madera.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Will the attorney please read the titles on that consent agenda?
Resolution 2018-84, resolution appointing members to designated boards and commissions of Commerce City. Resolution 2018-89, resolution authorizing award of traffic signal cabinet and equipment replacement project to WL Contractors, Inc. Resolution 2018-90, resolution increasing construction contract authorization for the Highway 2 widening project. Resolution 2018-91, resolution increasing construction contract authorization for the Eagle Point Recreation Center project. Resolution 2018-92, resolution amending the City of Commerce City procurement policy. Minutes of August 6, 2018, minutes of August 20, 2018, minutes of September 17, 2018, minutes of August 22, 2018, special meeting minutes of February 27, 2017.
Thank you. All right, I have a motion and a second. Titles have been read. I'll ask for a roll call vote. For the record, consent agenda is approved unanimously this evening. We do have one item to take up, 2018-93. I want to turn it over to Councilman Huseman to tell us why he pulled that off, and then we'll take it up independent of the others.
Thank you, Mayor. I pulled that off because as a board member of the Buckley Ranch Metro District, I'm recusing myself from voting on that item.
That's all you got? That's all I got. All right.
And
I'm trying to work two different things here. Here. Give me that pen, would you? Give me your pen. Sorry, I usually don't do this in the middle of a meeting. Young boys want to come up, I got some Commerce City pins for you. One for each of you, all three of you. I was thinking about it and I thought, you know what, they'll probably leave before I get the chance to make sure they have something from Commerce City. So these are Commerce City pins, and I took them off of these guys so they can get another one, all right? There you go, you each can have one. All right, you're welcome.
Mayor Ford, to allow the abstention, the council could vote to permit Mr. Huseman to abstain.
That's fine. All right, is there a motion to allow Mr. Huseman to abstain from voting on 2018-93? Mr. Madera,
Move to allow Councilman Huseman to abstain.
is there a second? Mr. Davis?
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion's carried. We'll allow Mr. Huseman to abstain. Now I have the item of 2018-93 resolution. Is there a motion to approve said resolution? Councilwoman Frank,
A motion to approve Resolution 2018-93.
thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Madera?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Will the attorney please read the title?
Resolution 2018-93, resolution authorizing the transfer of real property in the Buckley Ranch subdivision to the Buckley Ranch Metro District.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. We're on to the next item on our agenda. The public hearing, Resolution 2018-19. This agenda is on the city budget. Tonight, I'm going to reopen the public hearing, which has continued from October 15th, for adoption this evening. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the council on the matter of the city budget? Seeing no one, is there anyone on council that has any questions regarding the resolution? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. I want to ask for a motion. Mr. Teeter.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2018-19.
Thank you. Mr. Madera?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the budget? Seeing none, will the city attorney please read the title?
Resolution 2018-19, resolution adopting the budget for the city of Commerce City, Colorado for the year 2019 and providing for the 2018 Commerce City tax levy.
Thank you. All righty. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Next item, ordinances on second reading. We have ordinance Z 772-01-04-18, approving the Buffalo Highlands PUD zone document amendment number 1. This ordinance was not approved on first reading unanimously, therefore it was not on the consent agenda. I'm open for a motion and a second to approve ordinance Z 772-01-04-18 on second and final reading. Mr. Huseman.
Motion to approve ordinance Z-772-01-04-18 on second and final reading.
Thank you. Mr. Madera.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from the council? Seeing none, will the city attorney please read the title?
Ordinance Z 772-01-04-18, an ordinance approving the Buffalo Highlands PUD zone document amendment number 1.
Thank you. I'll ask for a roll call vote. My light's not lit up here. I don't know if anybody's is.
No.
Now it is. All right. 8 in favor, 1 opposed, motion is carried. And ordinance Z 772 for the record -01-04-18 has been approved on second and final reading. Moves us into presentations. We start with the 2018 third quarter work plan update from no one other than City Manager McBroom.
Thank you, Mayor. Deputy City Manager Torrey Smith is here tonight to walk through our third quarter update.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I wanted to walk you through our 2018 third quarter update. Just a brief history to remind you how we got here. Sorry, I'm not able to find the bar to get us to the... We'll run here. Just as a background, the council held a strategic planning retreat on February 23rd and 24th of this year and identified some additional priorities that were placed in the work plan. Please. I'm going to get some technical assistance. I'll be right with you.
Maybe. Maybe.
It's gone.
There's a thing that says show full screen. Sorry. Where the hell is it? Just roll with it like this. I can do it. Wait a minute. No, maybe not. Okay, who's smarter than
Wonder he
me?
couldn't find it.
Good thing he's not in charge of the IT department, huh?
Or me. Or me.
I couldn't help that, Troy.
We'll just roll with it like this if it's all right with the
That's
city
fine.
council.
What's this? All right, there's everything.
Thank you, Laura. All right. What's the matter? It's not helpful. I made it worse.
Don't print.
Hell, I'd never find that.
Finance department comes through.
It works up there. I got nothing here.
I'm on the air. Hold on, he's in limbo for a minute.
It's funny watching all the directors in the back of the room smiling, watching this happen. And here's these employees that work for Troy running up trying to save him. You got, hey, they all deserve a little something for the extra help, Troy. Don't forget them. Christmas is coming up. I know, but the effort is worth it.
If I close out and restart it, you know, they can pull it back up.
Yeah,
The chief didn't even stand up. He's like, nah, I'm out of this.
If only people that were here to fix the system were watching.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, we are in business now. Thank you, Zach. That's a finance employee, by the way, not an IT employee. So
All right.
just want everybody to know that.
Promotions in order?
They can want to keep him, I'm sure, yeah. All right, so you all held a strategic planning retreat in February and identified not only priorities for the City Council in 2019, but you added some priorities to the 2018 work plan. Those were your priority outcome areas. Here were the additional priorities you put forth for staff to work on during 2018. And we do have some updates for you specific to those action items. The work plan is available for the community to view on our website, and this is what the introductory page looks like, getting into your council goals. Overall, the work plan at the end of the third quarter appeared to be 70% on progress. There were some disruptions. You can see about 8% of major disruption, 5% of some disruption. The rest of the items were either completed or on track in the work plan. Council goal number one, we had an objective to add 30 new housing units. You'll see this project in particular has been disrupted slightly, but it is a 2019 due date, and as a result, community development continues to work on that and thinks that there may be some opportunity for this project once the realignment for I-70 is underway. By the way, if you have questions as I'm going through tonight's presentation, please feel free to ask those. Increase available industrial and commercial flex space by 4%. This objective was actually achieved at the end of the first quarter of this year. And comparing to the baseline data, which was Q4 of 2016, we have overall 9.25% growth. The Irondale Plan was adopted by City Council this summer, and projects are in the CIPP plan moving forward in 2019. All right, this was one of your additional priorities to secure a commitment for a sit-down restaurant. In September, you passed a resolution approving an economic development incentive for the Little Pub Company to build a 3,500 square foot full-service restaurant and bar with a 1,500 square foot all-season patio at the northeast corner of 104th Avenue and Chambers in the Second Creek Marketplace development. Some additional items related to this work plan about bringing restaurants into the city. New data was obtained and presented to you this summer from Retail Coach. A new logo announcing the city is ready for retail was unveiled. The Economic Development Department or Division contacted or cold called an additional 31 restaurant brands in Q3 and three different it often takes them about 3 phone calls or attempts to contact before they get a response. So it still continues to be difficult work for them, but they are working diligently to contact these new brands. And then staff attended some new trade shows and conferences this year that they hadn't gone to in the past and really had some great success at those in terms of marketing Commerce City. Staff also attended the new restaurant, Live Colorado Restaurant Show, and then they're engaged with social media to market Commerce City, and there's some of the results from the third quarter. Council goal number 2, we ended the third quarter with a 5.7% vacancy rate. We had 20 new hires and have completed 200 performance evaluations at the end of the third quarter. 80% of the employees in the organization have completed the health assessment, and that's a very, very high participation rate in the organization. And our EMOD rate continues to be below 1. That rate helps set our insurance premiums at a very affordable rate. Technology infrastructure availability continues to be above 99% throughout the city. And 85% of our staff are now certified in ITIL, which is a best practice organization for IT folks. We received 136 business license applications, and we currently have 31 licensed marijuana facilities and 64 liquor license establishments in the community. We recovered over $800,000 in tax revenue during the third quarter, and the CAFR and the audit were completed in July, both with favorable results. There were 8 sole source contracts approved during the third quarter. The C3 program is a bit behind where it would like to be at this point in time. Typically, they would have inspected more properties than that. That's a result of some staffing issues that they've had. They're going to attempt to get back on track through the third and fourth quarters of the year. Code initiated 1,335 cases in the third quarter, and the voluntary compliance rate after first inspection and courtesy notice violation was 44%. We issued 212 right-of-way permits within 2 business days. That's a 20% increase in those permits from the second quarter. And the city authored a grant that was submitted to DRCOG for funding consideration on 120th and Highway 85 interchange. Also, the station area improvements will not be completed by October 31st. They weren't. Bidding is anticipated to go into the first quarter of 2019 with notice to proceed being issued after that. We had the police department had a 133% increase in traffic stops compared to the third quarter of last year. And traffic accidents are down 5% from the third quarter of last year. 112th Avenue continues to be a focus of this objective to improve lane miles of unimproved gravel roads in the community. And during this period, Oakwood Homes presented the city with a draft MOU for review and comment, and the city obtained an estimate to complete design and environmental work. No construction or design work has occurred pending further discussions and negotiations with Oakwood Homes. Pavement maintenance, which you asked for as an additional item in 2018, is on track in its revised state, and there are no disruptions reported. City Council approved a reappropriation request in the third quarter to fund management, design, and construction of 5 new traffic signals. Those traffic signals will be designed in 2019. Buffalo Run soil recovery project is 90% complete, and construction at Eagle Point Recreation Center is currently on track with anticipated opening date of December 31st. The 3-week turnaround time for development review has not been met during this quarter, nor was it met during the second quarter. It's trending closer to 6 weeks, and that's a result of the volume of work that is coming through community development at this time. They're using a variety of sources to continue to try to meet the public demands in that area, including consultants. The Historic Preservation Ordinance has been moved to 2019, and again, that's a result of the volume of activity in that department. And the Building Safety Division performed 6,650 inspections. 99% of them performed on the same or next day of the request. That's just amazing work by those folks. We had an 18% reduction in the first and second quarter of this year compared to the first and second quarter of 2017 in NIBRS crimes. Those are Group A crimes in the National Incident-Based Reporting System. There were no tax hearings held. 2 protests were submitted, and staff is working with those businesses to resolve those prior to hearing, if possible. And the new records management system in the police department has taken a great deal of their resources and consequently has delayed a few of their projects related to publishing some data on the website. Closeout with the Department of Justice Technical Assistance Team was completed on July 18th. Implementation of all of the best practice recommendations will not be completed in 2018. Some of the items recommended will take some additional time and resources to complete. The PD Citizen Satisfaction Survey results are listed below. 91% excellent rating. Some numbers on recreation memberships sold and the number of participants in programs. It's important to note that it will take us another year before we have data that's comparable at Bison Ridge. Our basis of comparison at this point in time is with Eagle Point, and they're 2 different facilities. But The Healthy Places grant submission for the implementation strategy was completed on August 16th, and I mentioned the Eagle Point renovations are on schedule. Council goal number 5, we had 129,000 unique visitors to the agenda platform on our website. That's the most we've ever had in a quarter. The revised 5-year CIP plan calls for $75 million in capital investment throughout the community, and that plan was part of the budget process that you are now approving. The 2019 plan calls for an increase of roughly $18 million in expenditures or investment in the community in 2019. The city put 79 social media posts out in Q3, and 98% of those reached more than 650 individuals. City Council held an executive session to discuss interest in leasing or investing in the Adams Tower building. The police department hosted 18 community meetings, and a vacant position in communications related to bilingual communications is currently being filled. We anticipate it being filled in the fourth quarter. The report was included. It's quite a lengthy report. I believe it's about 32 pages summarizing all the work that took place in the third quarter. If City Council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those at this time.
Does anybody on the council have any questions for Mr. Smith at this time concerning the third quarter update? Saying none, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the quarter 3 2K program update. There she is. We won't have any computer problems now, Troy, watch.
Oh, don't say that.
It'll work beautifully now.
No, no, no. Ta-da.
Ta-da.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. So this evening, I'm going to provide the third quarter update on our 2K program. Our Citizens Advisory Committee, as you know, has been really instrumental to overseeing the work that we've done, and it's hard to believe that 5 years ago today, voters approved Issue 2K, and we are in the final few months of this voter-approved program. A reminder of the goals and objectives that we established and we've focused on, but primarily we've been committed to complete these 5 projects in 5 years, and December 31st is the end of our 5-year commitment. A little bit about our revenue. You can see how we've been trending, and as you can see, our expenses have been forecasted to go up in 2018, primarily because we've brought a lot of our additional facilities online, including Bison Ridge. And those expenses do include our debt payments, our bond and program management, our operation costs, and project costs that are not necessarily funded with bond proceeds. We do include a monthly executive summary in the city manager's report, and this is also available online on the city's CIP website. From a schedule perspective, this update goes through Q3, and you can see that we've substantially completed or completed almost all the projects but for Eagle Point at this point. And when you look at the schedule from a financial perspective, we're about 96% complete. We have about 4% to go. And so we're really focused on meeting your direction and the voters' direction. So a little bit of highlights from the third quarter, and some of you who are on our tour of Eagle Point got to see these firsthand, but this is the continued work that we've had in the lobby, and Eagle Point is one of those renovations that, you know, we're opening areas as we close them and vice versa because the building is remaining open during construction. So this is the lobby and the track. This will eventually have in the lobby the public art that's going to come from the ceiling, and then that is the new reception desk, and you can really see the light paneling and the kind of open area. We've also been doing a significant amount of work on the therapy pool, and we're also replacing the existing pool deck. That was an open space grant from Adams County, so we've been able to replace that tile with poured concrete surface. And then we're seeing fitness area renovations. The far right picture is that new expanded cardio and free weight area. The picture to the top left is what we've closed in for the spin and yoga area. And then we've also been replacing the old track, and we were able to get that work done as well. The other thing we have at Eagle Point is the installation of the exterior artwork. So this piece was recently installed, and we'll be doing some dedications later this year. Another 2K funded project is the Tower Pena on-ramp construction. In Q3, we sent the ramp bridge girders and paved the new Tower to Pena on-ramp. So quite a bit of work done on that project as well. In Q4, what we can expect between now and the end of the year is we'll be opening the new south entry in the parking lot. Actually, we did that late October. We're doing the public art in the lobby, and then we'll be completing the renovations and opening that full facility for use by the end of the year. And we also celebrated the Tower Pena on-ramp opening October 29th, and so that was a significant effort. We expect the fully completed project, the widening that we've partnered with Denver, to be done before the end of the year as well. So we're hoping to open all those lanes here very shortly. So with that, I would be open to any questions.
Does the council have any questions for Ms. Halstead at this time? I'll take the time to thank you for all the hard work, you and Troy both, and Roger, the whole team. This council placed a lot on everybody's plate over the last 5 years, and to know we're just a few weeks away from having all those things completed, I just want you to know there's more coming your way, so don't get comfortable. But we do appreciate all the hard work. Brian, you're hoping for more? Oh, you know what? You don't have a choice. That rec center opens by the end of the year fully. So we made a commitment, but you guys, it wasn't just you all. There's a whole team behind you. Everybody worked really hard to fulfill the requirement of all those projects in 5 years. So I want to thank all of you for that. Mr. Teeter?
Yes, I just want to take the time to welcome Ms. Halstead back to her original group. I know she's excited to get back here and get back to work with the old routine, so welcome back.
Glad you said that, yes. And with that said, she did a great job as an interim Public Works Director, so thank you, Michelle, for all the hard work. All right, seeing no one else, we're going to move on to Administrative Council business. And I know we have one item. I'll call on Mr. Guardiola.
Thank you, Mayor. Wanted to bring up something we also talked about, and to submit a letter to the State Board of Education by November 12th. The letter you guys all have in your packet kind of outlines what we're doing, taking a proactive on helping our residents with the school districts. So I'd like to do a motion. I move the council to approve the proposed letter to the State Board of Education regarding Adams 14 School District and authorize the mayor to sign it.
I have a motion. How about a second, Mr. Madera?
Second.
A motion and a second to send the letter everybody should have in front of them that was mentioned in the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Good luck with that, Mr. Guardiola. We know there's a lot of people in our community dependent on that help. All right, is there any other Administrative Council business this evening?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor? Sorry, I'll defer to council members. I do have a couple of items, but after...
I'll come back to you. Mr. Douglas.
Yes. I know in the city manager report, we had a update on a traffic study that was done on Parkside North and, was it Heartland? Not Heartland, Landmark. And it's not necessarily speed, it's just the fact there's so much traffic that goes down that corridor is very hard for people to go east and west. And so I'm advocating that we put a stop sign there, not based on speed, but based on traffic, because there's a lot of traffic goes through there in the morning. It's very hard for people to not only get through there, but also for parents that are walking their kids and they cross the street. I know they'll be designated certain ways where they get to a certain street and they jog over because of the way the lines are painted, and kind of flow that foot traffic a certain way so it doesn't impede with the traffic. But it would just be very helpful. And then with the also the build out of the back area there, that's only going to increase that area as well.
If I might respond, I believe the warrant study that city staff did was a complete warrant study, not just based upon speed. Ms. Halstead is here, can probably add some detail to that. So unless the intersection meets enough of the qualifications under a warrant study, we're not able to install a stop sign without creating more liability than we would be solving. We can certainly continue to check traffic patterns in that area and perhaps do the warrant study again, especially as more development occurs in the area around the elementary school. It makes sense that traffic patterns are going to change, traffic volumes are going to increase. We can perhaps provide some more detail, if you'd like, about the warrant study that staff did complete over the last several months. And it's my understanding we did not, the study did not show that we meet enough warrants to install those stop signs.
Okay. Would it help if residents, as far as personally wrote letters or signed a petition or so?
I don't think that's part of the qualifications of a warrant study. I think it's really based on traffic engineering principles.
Well, you know, Steve, the way this works, and I know it gets frustrating, is we operate under something called the MUTCD, which is a Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. That manual spells out exactly how, when, and where regulatory signs can be placed. So the problem with it is if we do the studies and it doesn't meet the warrants for that regulatory sign to be put up per the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, the city could be liable for causing problems if you place it without warrant and create more problem. And so I would just say that to meet the need of the residents in the area, I would ask the staff to look at any alternatives to a regulatory type sign, any type of traffic calming that may be able to help without warrants that would show the need for that signage to go into place, or to continue to try to meet those warrants through other means.
Well, you know, you make note of that. I know back in 2004, I think, 2005, there was a stop sign that was placed. I think it's Sedalia in Reunion Parkway. That was brought forward by a citizen to put a stop sign there by the park, and that was put in, and that was not based on a traffic study.
We can certainly research the circumstances under which that stop sign was installed. I don't have personal knowledge of that.
Okay.
I do know that as part of responding to the traffic concerns around the elementary school, we are installing some pedestrian crosswalks, and we have asked the SRO, who works in that part of the community, to do some traffic enforcement around school start times and when school lets out, just to help improve driver behavior in and around the school.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate it if they continue to monitor that and just give us some updates, because as the year progresses, more people moving into the neighborhood, there's going to be more auto traffic, so thank you.
Brian, I think along those lines, if we could get the Public Works Department to email the council on what the requirements are to meet certain standards for stop signs, an example, because I know there's different ways to meet those warrants. Some of them speed, some of them's traffic volume, some of them's pedestrian flow, some of them's accidents. If the council has that, I think it'll help everybody understand better on what it takes to meet those warrants, to get those regulatory signs installed. And that may be helpful, especially to Steve, when he looks at this from a perspective of, yeah, it doesn't meet there's a lot of volume, the speeds aren't high enough, whatever, but are there other things we can look at? And I think it's important that the council have what justifies those warrants. Does anybody on council have any disagreement in that? All right. I just want to make sure that the city has formal direction.
Thank you.
Now, do you have any other administrative council business, Steve?
No. That was
All right. Your light's still on. So I'm going to go to Mr. McBroom.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of items of administrative council business. The first thing I'd like to do is introduce the full city council, introduce to the full city council and to the community the city's new public works director. We mentioned earlier Michelle Halstead's time as the interim public works director. That enabled us to cover critical business functions while we did a very thorough search to hire a new public works director. The city engaged the use of a search firm to help us do a national search, and we were lucky enough to find our next public works director right here in the state of Colorado. So Joe Wilson started with us on Halloween Day, last Wednesday. I don't think that's an omen.
No, it's a lot better than April Fool's Day.
Trick or treat.
A little bit about Mr. Wilson's background. Mr. Wilson had previously served for 10 years as the Director of Public Works for the Cordillera Metropolitan District in Edwards, Colorado. In this role, he led facility, utility, and road infrastructure operations, improvements, and maintenance, including snow removal, fleet maintenance, solid waste, and recycling, among others. Prior to joining the Cordillera Metropolitan District, Mr. Wilson served in numerous public works roles for more than 15 years in the United States Air Force. He was the Chief of Staff to the U.S. Air Force Director of Public Works at the Pentagon and served as the Public Works Director for several military bases, including locations in South Korea, Germany, and right here in Colorado. Mr. Wilson is an alumnus of Dickinson College and Ohio University. I want to be clear, that's not Ohio State University. That would have disqualified him from employment with the city. He's a proud graduate also of Central Michigan University, where he obtained his master's. We're thrilled to have him here and wanted to give you all a chance to meet him.
Well, and I could see the Michigan University probably put him a little over the edge for you, right? It's right up your alley. Mr. Wilson, come on up to the podium, please. We're excited to have you as part of our team. And as you can see, the council's already starting to send stuff your way concerning some stop signs. But welcome aboard and tell us a little bit about yourself. And we're glad to have you along.
Sure. As Mr. McBroom had mentioned, I'm a career public servant as well as spending my career in public works as well. I spent roughly 20 years in the Air Force serving in different public works positions, from as a community development director, chief of engineering, public works director, as well as the installation commander, if you will. So that would be kind of the civilian equivalent of city manager position. And transitioning out into the civilian world, I held similar positions up in and around the Vail Valley. My last position, as Mr. McBroom said, 10 years as the Public Works Director and Community Manager for the Cordillera Metropolitan District and Property Owners Association. I was born and raised in Philadelphia, My wife and I both have 20 years in the Air Force. We have 2 fabulous kids that we're very proud of, and we're excited about the opportunity of returning into the Denver metro area and being part of a community and once again serving the public and using our skills to benefit the community that we live in. And we're very much looking forward to working not only with the council but also the members of the Commerce City team who have been fabulous during my transition, and I can't speak highly enough of the work that they're doing, and I'm glad to be part of it and looking forward to working with each and every one of you. Thanks.
Well, we appreciate it, and I would like to invite you and your wife to the Veterans Day dinner this Sunday evening at the Bison Ridge Rec Center. Commerce City Rotary Club will be hosting a dinner for all the veterans, and we'd love to have you there. Probably the only time you'll get to have me be able to serve you in a capacity of dinner anyway. But you're more than welcome to join us at the Rec Center for the Veterans Day dinner, and thank you for your service and your wife's. But we look forward to all the great things you're going to be able to do for our Public Works team.
Great. Thank you very
5
much.
o'clock, Bison Ridge. All right? Thank you. All righty. Anything else, Mr. McBroom?
Mr. Mayor, one final item. We've talked at the last couple of meetings about dates for a city council winter planning retreat. I chatted with the mayor before this evening's meeting about the possibility of Friday, February 1st and Saturday, February 2nd as dates for the city council winter planning retreat. This past year, the 2018 retreat, because a number of the council members had just been elected shortly before we held it towards the end of February. Earlier in the year is better for us because it really starts in this case, the 2020 budget and work plan development process. So my suggestion would be to look at February 1st and 2nd. That does keep us on the normal trend that we've had of prior city council retreats of a Friday night and a Saturday. We don't have to do it that way, but it seems to work pretty well and has worked pretty well in years past. Would that date work for city council? Certainly important to have all 9 members there.
I think better yet, would it not work for any of the members of council?
Great question. Is anybody not available February 1st and 2nd? If so, we'll look at other options.
That's good, it'll work.
Yeah, I was just worried about you there, Rick. All right, I don't see anybody with concerns. We'll put it down for the 1st and 2nd.
I understand with Mr. Huseman's work schedule, sometimes things pop up, but we'll...
I'll block those days out.
Great. We will get that on the calendar. I think it's helpful with the busy holidays coming up to get it planned, so we can also let staff know because we like to have our leadership team attend as well. So thank you for that.
All right, anything else, Mr. McBroom?
That's it, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. How about Mr. Huseman?
Thank you. What I'm going to say transcends into reports as well, but Councilman Davis, Councilwoman Frank, and myself went to the joint 27J Brighton City Council, Commerce City City Council dinner that we had last Tuesday evening. And one of the things that was presented was from the, and City Manager McBroom was there as well. One of the things presented was a impact of all the growth going on within the 27J district. And one of the slides indicated the value placed on cash in lieu of for builders that are building homes and how much land developed and everything like that. And one of the charts showed that Commerce City, Brighton, and 2 other communities have the lowest cash in lieu value associated with the entire 27J district. If you were to take out Commerce City, then the average would be about $90,000 with Commerce City, Brighton, and everything. The average is about $60,000, and of course we have about $32,000 cash in lieu. So I'd like to make a motion that we have a study session where the staff can bring to us ideas on whether or not we are adequately funding the district through cash in lieu of, and as well as the school impact fee, and determine whether or not we need to make changes to that to ensure a successful school district.
All right, is there a second to that motion? Councilwoman Frank.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. I want to go to discussion for a minute because I think it's important that when we talk about the 27J Facility Fee Foundation, that's a voluntary ask to our developers to participate rather than a mandatory. And big part of the problem is Oakwood is now stepping out of the facility fee foundation, and that will have an impact. But I do think it's relevant, and I will be supportive of the motion because I think it's relevant to have a study session to bring everybody up to speed exactly where the school district is. And when we talk about cash in lieu of property, and that's also donated by development. So a study session, I think, would be a good refresher and bring everybody up to speed exactly where the district is and what our responsibilities are. So I'll be supportive. Is there any other discussion before I call for a vote? Seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion's carried. We'll have a study session coming up concerning the school district. All right. Any other administrative council business before I move on? Mr. Madera.
So on the same day as the 27J meeting, Adams 14 had a BEST grant hearing for the Alsop Elementary. And basically they hired their architects for the project and are moving forward with the BEST grant and are seeking community input into what they would like to see in the elementary school. So for people that don't know, the Alsop Elementary they're going to build a new campus on what used to be the old Adams City High School, and with the intent of selling the old property at some point down the line to fund building a new middle school also on the same property. So I just wanted to let people know that they have a beautiful school planned out and they're seeking the community input. So keep an eye out for invitations to these hearings because they're really trying to get community input and what the community would like to see in a new elementary school and how they can best tailor it to the community.
Thanks, Oscar. All right. Mr. Douglas.
Thank you. I was going to ask staff to, if this is not on the work schedule, if we could put this on the work schedule, opportunity zones. I know this was just enacted this year. I went to the Economic Development Conference, and opportunity zones was highly talked about. But I think at a city level, we need to understand for our council members and for our city what opportunities that this will be for our city. So if it's not on the work schedule, if we could get that put on the study session, that'd be great.
Might it be okay if we send out the information that we have? We have quite a bit of information that I know the economic development staff have been using to brief me and other staff and to advocate for our inclusion. What we can do is send you all of that information out, and then after council's had a chance to review that, if you think a study session would be helpful, that would be fine too. Why don't we try that and see if that answers enough questions? I know our study session agendas over the next couple of months are a little crowded. We just have a bit of a backlog in study session items. If that's okay with council, why don't we try that and see if that's useful? And if there's still a need for some discussion after that, we'd be happy to schedule it.
Is that acceptable to you, Mr. Douglas?
That's fine.
Everybody else? All right. Now we'll move into reports. City Manager.
We did send out a fairly short city manager update last week, a couple of public works updates. Other than that, no additional report this evening.
All right. How about the city attorney?
Just to note that there's an election tomorrow, and so we'll be monitoring the results closely and look for information forthcoming depending on the results. Other than that, nothing else to report.
Thank goodness it's about over. All right. I'll start out with my report. Of course, Rotary, which I attend every week, and want to just make sure that our residents know that the Veterans Dinner this Sunday is open to anybody that would like to come that's a veteran, and the Rotary Club of Commerce City is sponsoring that dinner at Buffalo at the Bison Ridge Rec Center, 112th and Highway 2 at 5 o'clock. Cub Scouts meeting. I know myself, Jose, Nicole, Oscar, were you there? Did you go? No. So the three of us attended Arrow of Light ceremony for the Cub Scouts meeting. We got up and talked about our jobs here at the city. Old Dominion Freight Lines ribbon cutting and open house. Several council members attended. Quite a interesting facility. Great employer. A lot of employees, all making above the county average. Was impressed with the addition that they did, and I was even more impressed with all the new trucks, zero-emission diesels. Totally surprised me. I didn't even know they made them. Zero-emission diesels on their tractor trailers. So very impressive to see. Wish you could have been there to see some of that. It was pretty interesting. Then several of us also attended the ribbon cutting for the Goodard School. Another nice facility up on 104th. And then there was the Youth Commission Conference. I was unable to attend, however, I know Jose and Nicole were both there. So thank you for your participation on the Youth Committee and having that, being there for our youth. Another one that I didn't attend was the Westminster AdCog dinner. I know Mr. Davis was able to go to that. I don't know if anyone else was able to make it to the AdCog dinner. Then there was the QCF, Painting for a Purpose. Not one of my specialties, painting, that is, unless it's with a paint can. But a great organization, a great benefit, and I know several council members attended that as well. Tower Pena ramp opening. I want to thank our staff, not just our staff, but City of Denver, the FAA, E470, our representative on E470, Mr. Douglas. There was a lot of people, a lot of mayors before me, a lot of city council members before all of us. Played an active role in making sure that ramp got put into place and opened, and that was a big win for our community. With that not being a state highway or a Denver road and belonging to the federal government, the process was pretty grueling, and to be able to get that done. So thank you to everybody that participated to get that ramp open for our residents and for future economic development. Myself and Mr. Davis attended the Bison Roundup, the annual Bison Roundup at the Rocky Mountain Arsenal National Wildlife Refuge. Happens to be one of those events that I like to attend every year. I remember the very first one, we released 16 head of bison. And the herd is now up to, I believe, 198. Is that what they said? 198. And there's still some having babies. So for the residents, anybody in the audience, you get a chance to go out and do that 11-mile drive through the refuge. And you get to see some of those young bison. During this roundup, they bring them all in. They take skin samples, blood samples, and then they, for purposes, hair samples, for purposes of genetics, some of these bison will be shipped to other refuges and other bison will be shipped in. We trade up some of these calves and even some of the adults on an annual basis to make sure the genetics stay strong. But it's nice to see that our herd is doing really well out there. Treat Street event. So there were some council members went to the joint meeting with School District 27J, and there were some of us that went to the Treat Street event on the 30th, wasn't it? 30th, yeah. And several of our businesses and entities were there. Adams County helped sponsor, Commerce City helped sponsor, the fire district was there, United Power. So a lot of different businesses were there to support all the kids in a controlled environment for some trick-or-treating, and they had hot dog dinners, and they did a nice job. There was about 2,000 people. Over 2,000 people attended that event. And of course, the the Business Professionals Association, which Mr. Teeter was there manning a table for. Then I had a meeting Friday with Old Dominion staff, and then I was asked to go and do a tour and moderate part of this tour for the Leadership Commerce City group. Was through the Historical Society. It was their turn to have the leadership group, and I did a tour out around the airport along Tower Road and talked about future development opportunities. Jose's big brother was there, making sure that I didn't screw up on the financial side of things, but the tour went really well, and then we were able to stop and have lunch at the Reunion Coffee House. So that, I think, is enough, concludes my reports for this evening. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add to my reports? Mr. Guardiola.
Yeah. There's a couple things. As you mentioned, the Youth Commission held its first youth conference for youth of Commerce City, and I think we had a little bit over, 70 to 80 students that attended the full-day conference, that did the workshops, and this was student-led. So they debriefed on Thursday, and they're going to be planning for the second annual. I did attend the QCF Paint. They had over 90 participants, so it was a really good event with Oscar and Steve. And I just want to give out a shout out to the police department on Halloween. It was really cool that they were out there giving treats out, candy. They were on their bikes. Community policing, I think that's at its best. So good job, Chief, and the staff. It was cool to see one. And we saw a lot of things on social media about that too, and we saw it firsthand. I attended the Adams 14 Moving Forward meeting on Thursday, and that's where they're getting community input to see what they're going to do. They're just trying to kind of do a proactive before the big day in 2 weeks, so they're getting community input on that. That's it.
Thanks, Jose. Mr. Teeter.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I had a few things I attended the last 10 days. First of all, I did do the School District 14 work study session that they just put on, addressing how they're going to hopefully improve in the future. I spent an all-day thing at the Dr. Cog area for aging, and what I took out of that is I'm going to be approaching the staff and talk to them to look into a program called Boomer Bonds. And what this will do is, this will bring the Dr. Cog staff into our city, and they will do a evaluation of our senior citizens and what they have in place and what they don't have in place, and then they will come back with recommendations on things that we need to work on for our senior citizens. So it looks like a very good program, and we'll bring that back to you as we get closer to it. I did do the area boards meeting. It wasn't anything major that was there to bring up the normal. That's it.
All right. Mr. Douglas.
Yes, thank you. 2 weeks ago, I attended Economic Development Conference, but prior to that, I went to the Adams 14 community stakeholders. Yeah. It was a update through Team Tipton and on basically what their priorities are going forward with Adams 14. When I did attend the Economic Development Conference, I was able to sit with the folks from Economic Development and speak to them on what I observed and how well things are presented. And it's a great opportunity for any council member to attend those conferences because it's great information. I spoke to a guy named David Parcel with Local Intel, and what they do is they look at your website for economic development. There is no cost for that. Laura Moody, she's in charge of that, and I spoke with her and gave the gentleman's information, and they do evaluation and all that, and he's going to follow up with Laura. We're doing the URA and all that, and I can't think of Frank's name. He's economic development manager down in Castle Rock, and their campus, what they did, and it was great to hear he actually got an award for that. And then, 2 weeks from now, November 13th to 14th, Transportation Infrastructure for National League of Cities will participate in Association of Metropolitan Planning Organization around automated vehicles, planning and autonomous connected vehicles. And they asked me to be there to represent to represent the transportation infrastructure for National League of Cities. And that will be held at Dr. Cogg's office on November 13th and 14th. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Douglas. Mr. Huseman. Mr. Huseman. All right, we're skipping him. Mr. Davis.
Real quick, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to give a shout out to our staff here at Commerce City. I've been here about 2 months, and I've talked to a lot of people out in the community, and I've heard a lot of great things about this city and the people that run it. And this board has done a lot, but specifically, I'd like to just note the police department. I saw some stats tonight that were read to me by Troy Smith, the deputy manager, and they're pretty amazing to me. I mean, you realize that 18% reduction in crime rate is huge for a city. 5% reduction in traffic accidents. I mean, that's kind of unheard of. I'm sure State Patrol would love these stats. And so, yeah, we might be writing more tickets out there, but we're saving lives, and that's a huge thing. So, Chief, also, I was at the reunion trunk or treat, and you had there were several, 8 or 9 new officers, rookies from the academy, that were standing there. I didn't know they were all Commerce City officers, and I watched them for quite a while, and they did this city proud. They were communicating with the people, and especially with the kids, on such a professional and personal level, and I was very impressed. And when they told me they were all Commerce City officers, it made me pretty proud. So good job there. I'm sure you can't wait till they graduate and get them out on the street. HR, 80% health assessment returns is huge for a city, and finance and economic development, 44% rate of inspections, and then 99% same day or next day inspections is huge. And I can go on, but I'd like to give a personal shout out to our city clerk, Laura Bauer. I was at the reunion coffee shop, and they had an issue that they were very stressed about. And I know those people personally, and I could tell they were pretty upset about some things that were coming down the pike. And they called Laura, and Laura went down there and personally talked to them and quelled those fears immensely. You did a great job, and they had a lot of good things to say about you. I did pass that on to your boss, by the way, and so thank you for doing that. I'm proud of the workers that represent this city and do the tough job you do every day. So thank you to everybody.
All right, Councilwoman Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to recap, myself and Councilmember Davis attended a tour of the Tiny Homes Village. We were extended the invitation through former colleague Paulo Diaz, who is now the Poverty Reduction and Neighborhood Outreach Manager for Adams County. And so I welcome you to provide any comments, but it was very interesting to see how this, and for those that may not be familiar, this is the first Tiny Homes Village that actually just opened up last November 2017. And so I know we're not quite there yet as far as trying to tackle that particular issue, but it's something that I think will gain momentum. I know that there were several Adams County commissioners. There's probably about 40 plus attendees from different municipalities, different organizations, and so I do really feel that this is something that we should maybe obtain some more information on. And if you're not familiar with where this is at, it's actually off of 38th and Walnut, just right on the corner there. But it was a very, very nice area. It was very well kept. The residents are vested in the community. They're very thankful to have somewhere to live, even if only temporarily. a good camaraderie. They were very welcoming to us, and so I just think this is something that we need to look into, keep that on the radar for the future. You have anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah, unfortunately, they didn't get funding. That was just announced this week, last week. They didn't get funding to proceed with that, but I agree. I think it's an impressive place. I've been there before, and although there's only 11 tiny homes, that's 11 people that are off the street that can start new lives and have a place to call home. And I was impressed as well, the nature of the buildings and the welcome that they gave us. Thank you.
Mr. Teeter?
Yes, now that you brought that subject up, that was also one of the topics at the aging at Dr. Cog last week. It seems to be a new trend. They brought somebody in from the West Coast. It's big back in the California area, Oregon and places like that, and they are starting a new trend to where it's kind of like a mother-in-law house or moving your siblings into the backyard, building these small homes in the back, and then they'll be able to either have kitchens or not have kitchens in them. They can use the regular home facilities to cook their meals and things like that. But it's a big trend down the West Coast, and it'll be heading this way.
All right, thank you. Mr. Huseman? No, you didn't have anything? I was calling on you. You were out of the room, and I thought, I'm going to give him a hard time. But now you don't have anything. All right. With that said, if there's nothing further to come before the City Council of Commerce City this evening, we are adjourned, but we have some more meetings to do. So with that said, I will call to order the ECA GID meeting. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chair Ford.
Here.
Vice Chair Teeter.
Here.
Board Member Madera.
Present.
Board Member Frank.
Present.
Board Member Davis.
Present.
Board Member Douglas.
Present.
Board Member Huseman.
Present.
Board Member Elliott.
Present.
Board Member Hortiola.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. For the record, we're all here. We have one item on the agenda this evening. It was resolution ECA GID 18-001. I'm going to reopen the public hearing. It's been open since October 15th. I'm going to ask anybody in the audience who would like to address the board on the matter of the budget for the ECA GID. Seeing no one, I'm going to ask if anyone on the board has any questions regarding the resolution. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. I'm going to ask for a motion. Mr. Huseman.
Motion to approve resolution ECA GID 18-01.
Thank you. Thank you, young men, for coming in tonight. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Madera.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Now I'm going to end the ECA GID meeting. I'm going to call to order the ERA GID meeting. I'd like to ask the secretary to call the roll.
Chairman Ford.
Here.
Vice Chair Teeter.
Here.
Board Member Madera. Board Member Frank.
Present.
Board Member Davis.
Present.
Board Member Douglas.
Present.
Board Member Huseman.
Present.
Board Member Elliott. Board Member Hortiola.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. For the record, we're all here. Again, we have resolution ERA GID 18-01. I'm going to reopen that public hearing and ask if there's anyone in the audience who would like to address the board on the matter of the budget. Seeing no one, is there anyone on the board who has any questions regarding the resolution? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to ask for a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Mr. Huseman.
Motion to approve resolution ERA GID 18-01.
Thank you, Mr. Madera.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. If there's no further business to come before the ERA GID, we are adjourned, and I'm going to call to order the the NIGID, Northern Infrastructure General Improvement District. I'd like to ask the secretary to call the roll.
Chair Ford.
Here.
Vice Chair Teeter.
Here.
Board Member Madera.
Present.
Board Member Frank.
Present.
Board Member Davis.
Present.
Board Member Douglas.
Present.
Board Member Huseman.
Present.
Board Member Elliott.
Present.
Board Member Hordiola.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. For the record, we are all here. First item, we have a public hearing. I'm going to reopen that public hearing. It's Resolution NIGID 2018-01. This one, there was some question about reducing the mill levy, so we do have a presentation by Cheryl Karstens. So I'd like to ask Cheryl to go ahead and give us that presentation.
Good evening, thank you. We have prepared some information for your review that was attached in the packet. I'm going to walk through those slides and then answer any questions that you have. We were asked to provide information about the mill levy that is set each year. The bond language identifies that the mill levy that is set each year is intended to pay for the debt service on the bonds over time. Some of the key considerations when setting a mill levy, it provides some predictability for property tax payments of homeowners. When the mill levy changes or when valuations change, the amount they pay on their property tax each year can change. Also reminding everybody that those valuations change from year to year based on the market. The valuation is set in the current year for collection in the following year. So once the budget is approved, we will be validating the 2018 valuation and collecting those property tax revenues with the 2019 budget. Also want to remind everybody that debt service payments change year over year. So each year when we publish the budget, those debt service schedules for the two series within the NIGID are available for reference, so you can see how those debt service payments change over time. And then also economic stability. So as that market changes, if there is a downturn and property valuations either go up or down, that has a direct correlation to the amount of property tax revenue that can be generated in a year. Several years, the collection of property taxes have not matched our debt service payment. They have been below the debt service payment, and in some years we have collected more. So those collections remain in our fund balance and can be used from year to year to cover those debt service payments. The next slide shows that we are projecting that in 2019, we do anticipate the property tax collection based on the valuation we received from the county to exceed the total debt service payment that will go out the door. The way we presented the information when the public hearing was opened on October 15th is that that mill levy would be set at 27 mills. The next slide shows the property tax, the debt service, and the fund balance, what can happen over time. Just a reminder of the things I had already said about that fluctuation in valuation, what happens, you know, if the economy does change and that change happens year over year. This slide shows the projected fund balance being from 2019 to 2022, estimating that the fund balance would be about $10.2 million in 2022. The next slide just shows that instead of in a graphical representation written out for you, we did want to make a note that in December of 2022, we would have the ability to pay down debt early. In the event that that debt was retired in 2022, there is an estimated annual savings for that debt service payment of about $743,000, which based on the assessed valuation provided to us by the county this year would be roughly 2.5 mills. This slide was presented earlier in the year, so it just kind of gave a recap of the Series 2002, when the debt was issued, what it was issued for. December of 2022 is the first time we have the ability to prepay that debt. At that time, you can see the payoff amount is about $6.2 million plus outstanding interest. That would be calculated based on what day we determined to either prepay some of the debt or all of the debt. The next slide shows you the same information about the Series 2013, when it was issued, the amount that it was issued, and the debt retirement date. The optional redemption is in the same year, 2022. At that time, the payoff amount would be $63.8 million plus any interest. The board could elect to pay some of the debt, all of the debt, or none of it, and continue to pay that debt until 2038, when it will be fully retired. This slide was to show you a representation of if we did, if the board did elect to change that mill levy, what the impact on a homeowner's bill would look like. We used $100,000 to be able to show you the impact, and there are 4 examples that are provided for you that show taking that payment from $194 to $158, depending on what range the mill levy was set at. Some of the options for you tonight are to keep the mill levy set at 27 mills as presented and continue to look at the analysis over time. It also gives the board time to consider if they do want to pay that debt down early. Also helps us sustain future economic conditions. We believe another change in the economy is coming. It's hard to project when, but as valuations change, so do the property tax revenues change. A conservative approach would be to lower it 2 mills to 25 mills. That would be a reduction of about $567,000. We've also listed the information if it was a reduction of 3 mills or 5 mills. All of these numbers are based on the assessed valuation provided to us by the county in August. Here in a few weeks, we will have possibly an adjusted assessed valuation by them. Sometimes it's the same, sometimes it fluctuates slightly, but the timing doesn't meet when we need to adopt the budget, so we use that assessed valuation. So tonight, the board can decide if they would like to adopt the resolution as submitted on October 15th for the 27 mills, or amend the resolution based on the information that staff provided. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you.
Just one quick additional note. I think, Cheryl, it would be important for them to make a decision tonight if that's possible.
That is correct. We do need the budget to be adopted. So in the event that you do adjust the mill levy, it will take finance staff a short period of time to amend those pages in the budget. We did not publish the document yet because we knew that there may be a potential change. We will complete that work once the decision is made. We have until December 15th to certify the mill levy to the county, so we have a little bit of time to make that change. But in order for the budget to be adopted tonight, we would need to amend the resolution.
Thank you. So first and foremost, I want to ask if anybody in the audience would like to address the board on the matter of the budget. Seeing no one, then I'm going to go to the board, reminding the board that we are still in a public hearing. So please do not discuss your vote on the item as far as approval of the budget would go. And I want to allow the council to ask questions of Cheryl or of any of the other management staff right now. And I want to start by saying my understanding is that the recommendation of staff, because of unforeseen economy, that you would prefer that we left it at 27 mills and try to pay the debt off in 2022 versus reducing the mill levy at this time. However, I want to hear from the council on what they would, or the board, what they would prefer when it comes to the options that were placed before us in your presentation. Does anybody on the board of directors for the NIGID have any suggestions so that we can make sure that our staff has a clear direction before leaving here tonight? Mr. Madera.
So when you're looking at these future payments, what future economic trends are you seeing? Because we have the economic outlook as part of our packet for one of the prior presentations in the council meeting, and it was starting to show, housing market cool off, as well as some, market stabilization, less permits for building, and things of the nature. So what are you guys seeing from your end as far as that?
Well, it's been challenging over these last couple of years. If you would have asked me the same question a couple of years ago, I would have told you the next economic turn would have happened already. Depending on which economist you listen to, they give you a different opinion. If I had to project right now based on the most recent information I've heard, I would anticipate, late 2019, 2020, we will see the next impact. How significant that will be remains to be seen. We have seen revenues continue to increase. We have seen valuations continue to increase. I read an article today indicating some numbers, for kind of the Denver metro area that shows a slowing, which lead me to believe the things I just said to be true. The Mayor, you commented about staff making the recommendation of leaving the mills at 27. That recommendation is based on us taking questions over time about when can the debt be repaid early? Does it have to be in full? Can it be a partial payment? So that recommendation really is in direct response to us fielding those questions, and in order to be able to pay the debt off in full, you need to build that fund balance so that we can make that offering in late 2022.
The reason I was going there is because it's easy to reduce the mill levy. It's really hard to increase it. Mm-hmm. And so, not that based on what you showed us, that I think conservatively, we can probably drop it 2 mills. I want to be careful though, because the last thing I want is to leave and have a council have to find money in the budget to offset that debt service in future years. So, but I want to leave that up to the council. Mr. Douglas.
Yeah, thank you. This is to staff. Are we looking at obtaining some more debt bonds to finish out 104th Corridor? Because this is just what we already have constructed, and paying that off, we still have more to go. Is that correct?
Great question. There is more widening of 104th to the west that could be done. At this time, we're not recommending any additional debt to do that work.
Okay. So the foreseeable future, if we do take on this debt, would you see that happen in the next 5 years?
Well, it's sort of a year-to-year question. One option, if we do accumulate a fund balance in the NIG budget, is you could consider that even on a pay-as-you-go basis. I would still recommend that we consider funding capital projects on a pay-as-we-go basis. So it's certainly something to talk about, for example, at the winter retreat now, February 1st and 2nd. Is that something you want to get on your radar? And then we can explore different ways of funding it. At this point, I would still suggest that we don't take on any additional debt.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Teeter?
Help me out with this, share a little bit on, you put the figure up there, 194 for 27 mills, 194. Mm-hmm. Is that what the average person plays in for 27 mills?
Per $100,000.
Per 100,000.
So if you have a $400,000 house, it's 4 times that.
Okay.
Annually.
That's $60.
Okay, now I understand. Okay.
Mr. Huesman.
Thanks, sir. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for providing the information. During our last meeting, whenever I brought up the idea of lowering the mill levy rate, I was trying to provide some relief to the homeowners who are strapped with our high rate of property taxes that we seem to hear endlessly about. Unfortunately, I don't think that lowering to 5 mills is only going to save a person in a $400,000 home $12 a month, and I don't think that that's really the relief that I was looking for in trying to find that. which is unfortunate because I really wish that we could provide some great relief. The only thing I could say that would be the positive is that lowering of 5 mils would offset the increase requested by the fire department. And as I stated before, you know, everybody on this council or board/council unanimously voted to support the fire department in their desire to have their mill levy increase. So offsetting that mill levy increase helps that fire department get their passage through on their mill levy increase, but at the same time, not saddling the homeowners with additional tax payments. Unfortunately, I don't think any action tonight is probably going to make an impact on what takes place tomorrow. So it's a little bit late for that to happen, but I do appreciate all the information. It's very enlightening. I appreciate you guys taking the time. I apologize during this busy time for putting more work on your plate, so thank you.
All right. Seeing no more discussion, I do want to say that I think this council has discussed it in the past and continues to be cognizant of the fact that the NIGID has been in place for quite some time to get infrastructure and water and sewer, and 104th in place, and I don't believe any of us have a desire to extend that debt. And so I kind of go along the lines of what Mr. McBroom said, is to not extend the debt of the NIGID, but to help get it paid off, to relieve that mill from our residents that pay into it. And I believe that includes a lot of us on council.
Right.
But with that said, I want to be careful too. Like I said, I don't want to impact future councils. I'm open for a motion, one way or the other. Yes, sir.
I didn't hear the public hearing close. I'm not sure if it did.
Well, you weren't listening. I already did it once. I'm closing the public hearing.
Thank you.
How's that?
I
Did you hear it
appreciate
that time?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. All right, public hearing is closed. I'm open for a motion. Mr. Huseman.
Motion to approve resolution NIGID 2018-01.
As it is, with the same mill rate of 27. Mr. Guardiola.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the resolution NIGID 2018-01 unamended on the mill rate staying at 27. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Now, there be no further business to come before the Northern Infrastructure General Improvement District Board of Directors. We are adjourned. Thank you all.